Creating from the Heart. I'm here with an amazing artist, Bill. Creating from the Heart. I'm here with an amazing artist, Robert Stanley.
Hi, Suzy. Good to see you. Yeah. I wasn't terribly fond of my first name. I kind of like your suggestion.
Bill would be good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me what it is you do. What is your art about for you?
As you know, with that question, there's a lot of parts to that. Some of it is just a chance to do some art, and then one thing follows another. Mm-hmm. What I like about doing art is that it gives me an outlet for something that I was always very interested in. In high school, I was a physics major, really impressed with physics and thinking, well, maybe I'll be an astrophysicist because I liked, all the space and stuff when we didn't know what we know today. Uh-huh. So I went to be a monk, and in that training, they presented us with, we used to call it the Culture Vulture series. So we saw music, and I listened to the music and I thought, nope, I don't think I want to be a physicist. I think I want to be a composer. So, because the music has the same spacing and the concern with relationships. So after I got out of the training, and then after you get out of your boot camp, as it were, it's called a novitiate for a long, I was in college and I decided to take up composing. And the first thing I had to do was learn piano. And after about 3 months, I knew, no, that wasn't where my talent lay. I mean, you kind of know, and by watching other people and all. So then I thought, well, I can try art. And that worked.
Hey!
Yeah. So I started doing art. That was exhibiting in Cincinnati.
Well, back up.
Oh, when?
No, back up. You started doing art.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, it means I got the art supplies.
And that is brushes and paint.
Colors and paints,
okay.
Yeah.
We're talking acrylic or?
Acrylic,
okay.
Yes, mainly acrylics. And I was going to the Dayton Art Institute because we were at the University of Dayton, and that was where the art people went. So after I learned that basic stuff, I started out teaching in high school because the order I was in was a teaching order. It was called the Society of Marianists.
So you didn't leave?
Not right away,
so to speak.
No,
okay.
no. So I'm teaching, and I got interested in the art scene in Cincinnati. There's a place called Mount Adams, which is kind of like River North here or something like that.
Okay.
So I exhibited a bit there. The next year, I was shipped out to teach at a school in Cincinnati, and did some art there. And then at the end of that, I left the monastery, as it were, because you take vows. Year by year by year until you get to a certain point, which I was at. After 7 years, you either do or you don't. And I thought at that point, I just don't think I really want to do this. So after that, I decided to teach in college.
What is it that got in the way of being a monk? Just for us,
it's not real easy. I think there are basically two things: loneliness and not having the freedom. I mean, you have to ask. There was rarely a problem. You tell the boss, brother, I need a new coat. Okay, and you would go. And for all the problems, supposedly, with that kind of a life, poverty, we had 3 meals a day. So it wasn't so much that, but you went where they told you, and it was just kind of lonely,
Yeah, I do. I get it.
You get it?
I think.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to do the loneliness.
Yeah.
No, I'm not good at lonely.
Loneliness is not a good thing. Well, a lot of loneliness is quite a topic these days. People seem to be lonely even though they're immersed in all of this social media.
Right.
So what do you think causes that? Or is anything going to make it better?
Well, you don't feel connected, that's all.
So we feel connected. And it seems to me to suggest that you have to put aside the social media and actually meet with somebody, talk with them. Yeah, who knew?
Concept.
Yeah. But I have great faith. I mean, when I was teaching for a while, I taught 3 years in high school, and then for 30 years as a professor
teaching art?
teaching art.
Okay.
And people would complain about the young a lot And I thought, well, from your point of view, yeah, maybe, but they're doing okay.
Yeah,
Kids are
they
doing
are.
okay. So that was a nice thing to do. And after that stint teaching high school, I spent a year teaching in 2 years actually, teaching in Upward Bound. It was
Okay.
where they take students. Our students were from Dayton, Ohio, Cincinnati, and kids from Preble County. So that was a situation where you met at a college, lived on a college. This was Earlham College in Richmond.
Okay.
Yeah, and I did that. Worked at something called the Living Arts Center in Dayton, which took talented kids from the high schools, and the high schools, and after school they had that. And then I got my master's degree, and from then it was college teaching.
We're going places like Harrisburg.
Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and I still was exhibiting. I had something in the William Penn Museum in Harrisburg, and then I set up the art department at Oakton College in Illinois here. It's in Des Plaines now. And that's basically where I spent my teaching career. I continued to exhibit and make art, but because I had a family, I didn't depend on my art to live. You needed the teaching or somebody, as many artists do.
Right.
So that was my path, and to this day I do art.
I know you do. I love your art.
Oh, thank you.
And my husband, when I bought one of your 5x5s,
Oh yeah.
is bats about it.
Oh, great.
He loves
That's
it.
good. Yeah, and people, a lot of artists say, well, I don't care what people say about my art. Oh, bull.
Right.
Yeah, no, they really care, and it means a lot to people who are honest. Oh, I'm glad somebody gets it, because I don't think anybody ever gets all the stuff that you did like you would like them to. Of course, who does that in any? I mean, people don't get you all. But it's if you're not going to cry about not getting stuff, it's getting enough attention. It's a wonderful thing that people are moved by it.
Well, and it does give you great self-satisfaction.
Yes,
It
yes,
makes you feel good when you finally decide this is it.
yes. And while you're younger, I mean, there's always I think most people have an ambition of some sort, and I was really hoping to get to the level of the Metropolitan Museum of Modern Art, to be in the conversation in art textbooks. And well, I didn't make that. I got to the Smithsonian at the end of my life, but after I had decided, okay, it doesn't look like you're going to make it. So yeah, so
Let go.
yeah. So what am I doing? Well, I like what I'm doing. Who cares if you make it or not? So you get to a certain age where the ambition isn't all that important, and you're right. Just making it is its own joy. You do art, so you just lose track of space and time while you do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
So
fabulous.
and it's very very rewarding, I
And
think.
the
as
other
well.
thing that you do is you dream things.
You do. I don't. I do.
You don't dream anything?
I'm sure I dream. I don't remember anything.
Well, I don't always remember, but I can feel my brain going around and
Really?
around and around. And I'll wake up with, okay, I want to try that. I want to try that.
Well, what you're doing seems to me to be, from what I read and teach about creativity, the way it works in general. You draw something out, you're drawing it out from your dreaming. Some other people draw it out from experience. Some other people start working and it happens. I collect a lot of images. I shoot images now. I used to sketch. And when I guess there are a couple of paintings up here now. When I find something I really like, that corresponds to your remembering something you want to do. I put this up so
Okay.
I think we can see behind me
Here.
here. There's this figure peering. Okay, yeah. So actually, what I liked on this one, is over here. A shot I took from about the 7th floor of a resort of a lawn, and there's a white chair on there. It's not there yet. I'm just starting. So I like that because I thought, okay, at the edge of something, what's going on here? And then other things I like to put in that interest me after that. So this person either left or was thinking about, well, what's it all about, Alfie? And it's really nature. I mean, grass and who's that guy? The German Renaissance guy. Oh well, who did the great grass, I think, or the great turtle.
Okay.
You know, I mean, and so I thought, well, that's real. I mean, the grass is real, and we live in. So I put that in, and there was going to be some other things up there that kind of express what this guy over here is looking into. You know, and so that guy over there is me. Yeah, so I did me and put it in. So that's the kind of thing. I find something I like, and then it starts to suggest it. Now, imagine when you do yours, the first thing you put down starts to suggest other things. Is that how you work?
And actually, one of the most recent things that I did, it was to just take raw fiber that came off an animal and just start mushing it around on a piece. And then gradually I thought, well, I need a little of this. Well, I need a little of that.
Yeah.
And then when I was almost finished, I thought, let's have a little silk.
Yeah. So
And it came into being something.
A lot of artists say, well, the painting, whatever, spoke to me. Was that what's happening to you? It speaks to you. Put some silk in. Yeah,
I'm not sure it has. We had a conversation, but I was moved to go get that or whatever.
And that, I think, is the right brain, you know, kind of working unconsciously. You want to put things in. Yeah. Yep.
It happens, and I can see it happening over here too.
Yeah.
You want to tell me about that one?
Okay, sure. So part of my stuff is, and this is really kind of the foundation of my work, we're in a flow. There was a big bang or wasn't. I think now it kind of was. And all these things are out there, gazillions of little bits of matter. And that's come down to, after 13 billion years, this planet and enough molecules that can make us. So it's all in this flow, this kind of cosmic flow. So this one too has a background of things that are just flowing. And the figure is kind of me looking, and you can't see the flow exactly, but the pots and flowers.
Yes.
When you look at nature or things that people have made, a little bit of that shows through. If you really think about it, I look at a flower, well, it's amazing, it's going to last 2 weeks. And then where did the molecules come from? So it's all this thing. And
and you can see it in that image. I don't know if people can see it on the screen, but the colors are amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not real obvious. I like the little dog too, because what I'm saying is kind of highfalutin, and people have said my art is philosophical. Okay, but there is nature. So I don't want to fool myself. I mean, the dog barks, and nature is in there. So that kind of does the whole thing for me. You look around, you see, oh my heavens, and then you say, well, that's just part of that. And I can make this beautifully, which is the ultimate thing. Where do I put the various things to show the connection and make the space lovely?
And how did you teach this to students?
What I taught to students would be, here are the fundamentals. If you're talking painting, here's how you make different colors. They would have to do technique things to learn all that, do some sketches. And then I would tell them, okay, pick of the things that you've sketched so far, something you think you like. And they would, and they'd start, and then I would say, okay, kind of what you said with your silk, why did you do that? I don't know. Don't really. I mean, why? Well, I kind of like fans. Oh, say they made a fan. And why do you think that? Is it the breeze that blows? No, it moves fast. I say, bingo. So there's where you're going. Start with that. You don't know. You know, you're going to try a lot of stuff. You've probably done that too, and some of them will fail. Okay, I think I want to make it look fast, so I'll make it boring. Nah, I don't like that. Why don't you like? And so they just let them develop along those lines of, you take the seed of an idea, your silk, my landscape over here, and start. And just ask yourself the questions.
Yeah.
It's hard to do because, unlike our ears, our eyes don't work. I mean, our ears, you and I are talking now, and we try to make kind of specific sense.
Okay.
And at the same time, we could be sitting outside and listening to a creek run. I just appreciate that. What does that say? What do you mean? What does it say? Or listening to, there was a Vaughan Williams thing playing coming in here. Listen to the music and go, wow. But it's very hard to do that with your eyes. People look at it and say, oh, that looks like, is that a wolf? Or they have to see stuff, which is normal, because that's how we get around.
You have to define it.
Yeah, my God, it's a snake. I got to get out of here. So that part of your brain is very active. So getting people to just relax into appreciating the thing itself, like the flavor of chocolate. You can't define chocolate. You can only taste it. With the painting, it's kind of in between that and prose. There's a lot of stuff in there that you really can't define. It's just kind of visceral, just like I like this flow.
That's how I feel about the
Thank you.
colors in that painting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, did you think you'd be doing this when you were a kid?
No idea. I mean, when I was a kid, I was really just some of a dumb little kid. I think my godmother, I think when I was like 10 or 11, gave me a book for my birthday. I thought, a book? Are you kidding me? A book? Oh, well, so a couple of months later.
Any particular book?
Yes, I'm going to get it. So, yeah, it was Treasure Island. My birthday's in March, and in the summer I thought, well, I'm tired of playing ball. I think I'll go out and I'll start reading. And I found out reading is really cool. So I didn't do any art. I suppose the same thing might have happened with the art, because that happened later on when I was in college, where the art was attractive. But when I was younger, didn't do anything.
Amazing how it comes to you, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And as a professor, as a teacher, you come across students that think they want to be an artist. And it's really important, I think, to give them the truth so they can, or if they're not able to, if it doesn't look like it, they can find something they like.
And what's the truth?
Well, so that's the tricky part. So I'd be looking, and maybe the student is an art major, and they had to do like 10 paintings in a semester, and all of them were purely reporting what they saw, no emotion in the broad stroke, no feeling for the color shade. And I would say, I may be wrong, but it seems to me you're not really enjoying this.
You're not into this.
You're not into this, yeah. And if I'm wrong, by the way, that happened to me. The boss, when I first started taking, the monk boss, started taking art, we were all expected to get A's and B's if it's really bad. And here I am getting some C's in art. Oh, brother, do you think you should be taking art? So I had to decide, And so I kind of share that. I don't share that particular story, but I tell the student, I could be wrong, it wouldn't surprise me, but here's what I see and why. Remember, this is an interesting thing. This is Campbell, I think, said, follow your bliss. Remember to do what you really enjoy, even if it doesn't look good right away. And what is it, Ruth? Who's the gal that did hospice, the doctor? It started it, you remember?
Oh, no.
Okay, it'll probably come later. But she started hospice in England. And this story is different than the hospice story, but she's a doctor. And she decided to say, well, we always say, why don't you do what you really like to do? Or Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss. And I as a teacher would say, do what you really... Am I misleading these people? Is that really going to work out, or does it just sound nice? So this woman, did a study, and she found out, I forget what the sample was, I think it was like 1,000 or something, but she's a scientist, and found out that those people who did what they really enjoyed doing found a way to do it in real life, and they were living comfortably. They might not have been as rich as somebody that decides to become a stockbroker or something, God bless them, but if you follow what you really like to do, you're going to come out okay in terms of putting food in your stomach and your family if you have it, and at the same time you're enjoying life. There's a good plan,
Isn't it amazing how long it takes?
Yeah.
And how it evolves.
Yeah.
It's just, it is amazing how it evolves.
Yes. Very different, but very similar for everybody. I think, you get
if
this.
you allow yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. If you think, well, to be a famous artist or to do this, I got to do this, and you do it. And maybe even if you're kind of just mailing it in, as they say, you can enjoy that. Oh, yeah, look at it. But if you don't look at it and kind of let it push you deeper into what you're doing, you just kind of mail it in.
Did you ever read the book Eat, Pray, Love?
No.
It became a movie,
Uh-huh.
and I'm blanking on the woman's name that did it. She came and spoke at the Sinai Forum a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And when she came, she told this story, which is so true. She says, you know, ideas are embodied energies. And they come and they tap you on the shoulder. And you might say, oh, great, and go with it. Or you might say, oh, I can't do that right now. I'll do that later. Let's assume that's the first time. And then the idea comes back. Taps you on the shoulder again. And you are too busy. So you don't. She did that, a version of that. She was married to the person that she wrote the Eat, Pray, Love story about. And then he ended up being deported. And she had this idea for a book that she'd spent a year outlining and figuring out and was going to tell it. And then lo and behold, she decided she really wanted to be with her husband until they could get him back in the country. So she left. And when she came back, this book, this story, had been written by somebody else, slightly different, but very clearly the same idea had knocked on that person's shoulder. And she told the other woman, and they became fast friends. But her theory is, you know, once, twice, you better say yes if you really want to do it.
What you say, I mean, you're quantifying a quality.
Yeah.
And I found that to be kind of true. I would, in telling students who were trying to break out of what they thought they should do and really do stuff that they really wanted to do, I would say that kind of thing. If you get an idea, you think it might work, try it. By the third time, if it doesn't make you excited and want to do more, no, that's not the path. Try something else. You're young. You know, you've got time to try all of these things. And I think that's true. It takes a while.
And you don't need to wait till you retire.
Right.
I spend my life telling people that retirement is just getting a new set of wheels.
Yeah, it's pretty true. As I retired, there were numbers of faculty who would retire at the same time, and they would bring in previously retired. And some of the previously retired said, oh, this is so boring. I'm so bored. Because
they retired.
They retired, and they didn't have something to do. They
didn't buy a new set of wheels.
No. And they didn't volunteer at the hospital or the library or like people like me and maybe sports people who could go and coach. I think artists and musicians and others like that, writers, are kind of fortunate because it's not like, you know, you're teaching economics and now you stop teaching economics. What are you going to do? You know, so some people play golf and it works, but other people just kind of, they don't find their bliss.
They don't find what's inside.
Yeah.
They don't keep growing. They're not curious.
Yeah. And that, you recognize that, I recognize that as a teacher, and it's very hard to get people to do that self-acceptance, to look deeper with what they really want to do.
And exploring.
Yeah.
Being curious.
Yes.
Going out my favorite thing to do often is to go to a hardware store. I don't know why. I love hardware stores. And so I putz around, and sooner or later I might find something that's curious that will help me do whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, last week I bought dog chains so I could hang my art that needs something to help it hang.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. Have you been to Paul Henry's gallery? And
Yes.
Yeah, there's a hardware store for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
It's very hard, and I don't know if that kind of thing can be taught, where you just look and pick up little stuff. One of the ways I would try, when it was my duty, if you will, to let people discover that, in the drawing classes, I would spend 2/3 of the semester with the basics. How do you make things look right? How the lights and darks are right? How you use this material? So those basics, and then the last couple of weeks I would say, okay, so now you know how to draw. Why? What's important for you to do? And we would have a critique every week, and people generally would start kind of like I said, I made up the fan guy, but that might be an example. He draws a fan, then he draws a window. So his idea is getting more and more personal. There was this one gal that liked her kitty cat. And every crit, usually about 2 pieces for every crit, she'd bring in this lovely kitty cat drawing. It's curled up, it's Leia. And we would talk to her, but anybody, I'll call her Jane, anybody can see that, Jane. What do you see? So almost until the end, she came in the last crit, and we went, wow, because it was the cat walking away with its tail in the air and its anus there. And we said, well, that's something we don't usually see. Why do you do that? And it related to her experience. She says, that's what the first thing I see in my cat when it wakes me up in the morning. And it goes. If she had started there, God knows where it would have gone.
Right.
Yeah, but to find that is very difficult for young people. I mean, you were young once. I was young once. You tend not to be very philosophical about your life.
Right.
Yeah. But once you have the experience, I think that flow experience that Mihai Csikszentmihalyi talks about.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
You get in. You yearn for the zone.
Yes, exactly.
Uh-huh.
And it's worthwhile.
Worthwhile. It's a gift.
Well, yeah. I think of the Shaker song, "Gift to be simple, gift to be free," and the part we're getting to, a gift to come up where you ought to be.
Thank you.
Do your thing, your talent. Don't say, "Oh, I got to do this, I got to do that." I mean, you can do that for a while till you find out it doesn't make you happy. But at some point, if it doesn't, I mean, you might pick up. You really owe it to yourself to find something that really makes you appreciate being alive.
It makes you who you are.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Which is different than every single other person that's on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think you can take bits and pieces of people. I mean, Aristotle says this, what's good? Well, good luck defining that. But he says how you know is find people in your life that you think are good, and then see what they're doing, and then learn from that. And I think that's when we're talking again about real stuff that leads into real stuff, painting or trying to be a better whatever.
So the real wonderful thing is that we're going to get to see what you've been up to this summer, because Bob is going to show at the Beverly Shores Museum and Art Gallery.
Yeah, and that's going to kind of tie into what we've been talking about. It's called Local Places, New Spaces. So where we live in Beverly Shores, I've made a number of drawings and pictures, but I don't just reproduce them as a plein air painter might, but they become something different, much like when we talked about that grass thing back there. Something I see then is put into a new environment. So just as that thing went from a resort hotel to some sort of a philosophical piece about reality, the things around Beverly Shores, the sand, the hills, all that stuff reappears in my work, but in a different mental space. So I think that should be fun. I'm kind of hoping people get a kick out of that, because it hints, I think, of what we've been talking about, that artists see something in the real world and it moves them. I mean, even the abstract painters, I think there was something they saw that moved them.
I remember when I'd been coming to Beverly Shores for a while.
Uh-huh.
And Tim and I had a place, and we'd come on the weekends. And we'd come for our vacations. But we weren't here every day. And then there was a point in my life where I quit practicing law, and Tim said, just, go to the dunes, find yourself.
Oh, really? Nice support.
Yes. So I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be out in Indiana, and I would take a walk every day. And then I noticed that there is a day in the spring when the dune grass goes down.
Really?
It happens, and they all go down at about the same time. It just all of a sudden, that. And then there's another day when all of a sudden you notice.
Ah. How
And,
neat.
when you're living in concrete, even if there's some grass around, you don't see that.
Yeah.
You don't notice stuff.
Yeah. That's a great find. I'm gonna have to look for that. I do have in one of the pieces some grass, but that you're finding that is really interesting. I'm gonna have to watch it.
It was like, oh,
Yeah. So
it was such a privilege.
did that help you? Was your husband
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Well, it helped me in many ways, not the least of which was the freedom.
Yeah.
It was just exactly what I needed.
Mm-hmm.
And then here I am.
Yeah. Well, that freedom for most people, and obviously you, and I think to some extent me, means you still do about the same amount of work, but you're choosing where you work. It's not somebody telling you,
Right.
you got this case to prepare, or you got to show that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank you very much for sharing, and we can't wait to see your show.
Well, thank you very much, Suzy. It's been a pleasure, and we'll see how that works.
Okay. All right. Creating from the Heart, I'm Suzy Vance, and I hope to see you next time.